Good afternoon, and welcome to the 800 Credit Score Man Show. I am your host, Kevin King. He is I, and I am him, the 800 Credit Score Man himself. And again, thank each and every one of you for coming in and listening to the 800 Credit Score Man Show. You know I truly, truly appreciate it. So first things first, it's Mother's Day weekend. So happy Mother's Day to all of the mothers out there. Happy Mother's Day to you all. Take care of your mothers. Give them roses and their flowers while they're here, and celebrate your mothers, everybody. I want to give a big shout out to my wife, the mother of my kids. So happy Mother's Day to you, baby. All right. And also, let me say this. I want to thank everybody that's been listening to the show. Please follow me on social media. Follow me on Twitter at creditscore_man on Twitter. You can also follow me on Facebook as 800 Credit Score Man, as well as Instagram and Tumblr, the same thing, the 800 Credit Score Man, or it's just 800 Credit Score Man. So follow me on those platforms. I appreciate it. I put out a request from everybody that listens to the show earlier in the week because the show was coming up real close on a new milestone, and I wanted to make sure we reached that milestone before this weekend, and we did. So thanks a million to everybody who listens to the show. 50,000, yes, 50,000 listeners to the 800 Credit Score Man Show, and I think that's actually only on iTunes and Spreaker. So there are many, many more that listen to it on Castbox and watch your YouTube and all of those kinds of things. So thank you so very much. I truly appreciate it. Big things coming for the 800 Credit Score Man Show, and I hope I truly provide some valuable information to you. So today, what are we going to talk about this Mother's Day weekend? We're going to talk about the mysteries of credit. There are so many things surrounding credit that we simply don't know. Some of the reasons that we don't know them because we haven't really engaged in it. We haven't really tried to really seek what's what. And also, quite frankly, there's so much information out there. Some of it correct, some of it incorrect, but there's so much information out there that it seems overwhelming. So then what we do is we kind of get intimidated by it. So maybe it's a little intimidating. Maybe we look at it like it's the new math. If you've got little kids and you've seen the way that they're trying to add and subtract nowadays, you are scratching your head because it just doesn't make sense to you. And everybody out there that's got little kids, I know you're chuckling right now because you know that I'm telling the truth. So credit is a mystery to some of us. There are some things, though, that we can unlock from this mystery, some of the things that we can actually figure out, and then if you know it, then you can use it to your advantage. So we're going to talk about the mysteries of credit today. And before I get started, I got to give a shout out to 7-year-old. Yes, 7-year-old Dabrielle Crocker. She is listening to the show today. I want to say happy birthday to you, Dabrielle. She's listening with her dad, Derek. So happy birthday to you, Dabrielle Crocker, 7 years old, just like my kid. All right, and I got to get a shout out right off top of the show as well to Fatia Terrell. You talk about an avid listener, somebody that's always in my corner, somebody that that spreads the word about the 800 Credit Score Man Show. Fatia is one of those people, and she deserves a huge happy birthday shout out to her. So happy birthday to you, Fatia Terrell. All right, so let's jump into these mysteries of credit. Like I was saying, it could be intimidating, but today we're going to talk about some of the things that just don't make sense to us at all, and see if we can find some of the answers to these things. So here's what we're going to do. The first thing I'm going to address is why in the world, why do the credit scores run from 300 to 850? I mean, seriously, why in the world would you pick 300 to start at and then end at 850? It seems like an extremely odd number. Why in the world would anybody do that? So since we know that FICO, the Fair Isaac Corporation, basically made up this number, why is that? And quite frankly, I don't know the answer to that. I have no idea why they did it. I did a little research, and like I said, there's a lot of stuff out there, a lot of theories out there, but I still cannot definitively say why they started at 300 and then end at 850. So if you know why that's the case, then please drop me a email, 800 at Credit Score Man. That's 800 at creditscoreman.com. Drop me an email. Let me know why you think, or if you know the exact answer why they start at 300 and end at 850. I would certainly appreciate it. So some people even think that maybe it's a conspiracy theory. So they think just to keep us guessing, because it just doesn't make common sense to us, that they would start at 300 and then end at 850. And of course, the higher the better. So when you get to 750 and above, you're going to have excellent credit. Then you got your good range, and you have your fair range, and then you have poor and you have bad credit range. Now, to me, like I've mentioned before, poor and bad, what's the difference? If you can't get approved for anything, poor and bad should basically be the same category. Because if you can't be approved, what difference does it make if you go from bad credit to poor credit? Maybe it's also something psychological to that says, hey, you're improving. Here's where you are. Here's where you started, but you are improving on that. So maybe that's the reason there's a poor and a bad. But I simply just don't know. So I'm not able to unlock that particular mystery today, but we're going to go ahead and get to some others that we will discuss why things are the way they are. So here's the next thing I want to talk about, and that is, how is it that my credit score seems to change for no reason at all? So a lot of industry people, or if you see articles, and I'm guilty of this myself, they talk about credit score fluctuation. Now, you say fluctuation, people know what it means, but it's just a big word that you don't necessarily have to mean. So why is my credit score changing? I haven't done anything. I haven't bought anything. I haven't used my credit. Why is my credit score changing? So this one is actually hard to figure out. You really need to look at your own specific situation. It's not something that you can necessarily generalize, because it's hard to figure out, because there are so many different factors that we do know and some that we don't know, so the known and the unknown, when it comes to your credit scores. So one of the reasons that your credit score could be fluctuating is because we don't know the entire formula. So like I said, we don't know the entire formula of what's going on with the credit score. So we do know some things. We know those 5 factors, which are, your inquiries, if you got new credit, or if you have, if you have revolving or installment credit, we know those factors. We know your average length of history. We know that your debt utilization is part of the factor. And we know, of course, how well you pay is part of the factor. But within all of those things, there are several other things that come into play when it comes to your credit score. And we just simply don't know all of those things. So here's another reason that your score could be moving. We don't know everything that's good and bad for your credit. So oftentimes people think, hey, I haven't used credit in quite a long time. People are telling me I need a credit card, and then they go out and get 4 credit cards. So people think that that's a good thing for them because they didn't have credit before, and now they're going out to get credit, and they're establishing all of this new credit. Well, you think it's good for you because they told you don't have any credit. That's bad for you, and you go out and get the credit, and now they're telling you that's bad for you. Well, the reason in between the two is part of those 5 factors, your length of history. So you have a short length of history, plus credit scoring system is evaluating risk. So if you've never used it, they have nothing to evaluate you on. They don't know if you're going to go out and go all willy-nilly and charge up all your credit cards and not be able to make that bill. So they're looking at it as a risk because now you have it. They don't know how responsible you are, that you always pay your bills on time or anything of that nature. So it's going to take some time for them to look at how you are using your credit, if you're paying on time, and then they'll be able to reevaluate. So then they're not giving you the benefit of the doubt up front. They're not giving you the benefit of the doubt up front. They're going to wait and see. It's more like wait and see. So then your score is a little low. So that's one of the things as well. And then in all of these categories that we talk about for your formula, we don't know all the categories within categories. So yes, that sounds confusing, but there are subsets to all of the things that we talk about as well when it comes to your credit score. So what do I mean? So not only are you judged, just for one example, not only are you judged as an individual, so me as Kevin, how well did I do this, that, and the other when it comes to my credit score? To some degree, I'm also compared to other people that are in my credit category or credit class, if you will. So I'm putting up air quotes in the studio. So according to my category and my class, and that category are things that we don't know. So that class that I'm in, that class or category that I'm in, could be people that are over 30 years old. The category that you can be in could be people that have held credit for, this many years. So if you look at your average length of history, let's say it's 5 years, you could be compared to people that have had credit as an average length of history of 5 years. Or you could be compared to people that have opened up their first credit account back in 1990. Let's say that. So you don't know, and we don't know all of those different categories or subcategories that you're being compared to. So again, not only you're being compared to yourself as an individual, but you're also being compared to other individuals that are similar to you when it comes to how you use credit, how long you've had credit, what types of credit you actually have on your credit report. So you could be being compared to people, if you had never had a mortgage, you could be being compared to people that have never had a mortgage. Then let's say you get a mortgage. Now you've changed categories. Now your credit score is being compared to other individuals that have had a mortgage. So these are just some examples here why it's difficult for us to pinpoint every single thing to help you say, hey, here's what's happening with my FICO score. My score is going to go up if I create this particular action, or my score is going to go down if I do this particular action. So that's what makes it difficult for us to say, if somebody calls me up and says, hey, if I do this, how many points will I gain in my credit score? I can't give you an exact. What I can do is I can give you off of my experience and what I've seen and what I've seen myself, and I can give you a range maybe of what your credit score will do, just knowing that particular factor. So that's one of the things, one of the mysteries, one of the things that makes it very difficult for anyone to predict how well your credit score is going to do. Then also, here's another thing. So rumor has it, and I'm going to say it just like that. Rumor has it that you also are in categories, say, if you ever file bankruptcy. So if you ever file bankruptcy, it would be totally, totally unfair to directly go ahead and compare you to someone who has never filed bankruptcy, who has a good credit score and all of those things. So one of the subcategories would be people that have filed bankruptcy. How well are you doing in comparison to them? Then while you're in bankruptcy as well, so let's say that your bankruptcy was 5 years ago. And so for whatever reason, 5 years ago may be a threshold that they look at. So if you are now 5 years out of bankruptcy, you're looking at your credit score and maybe it went up, maybe it went down. But you would think, hey, it would go up. I'm further away. Excuse me. I'm further away from, me filing bankruptcy. And of course, on anything, especially negative, the further away you get from that particular account and issue, then the better it is for your credit score. So you're 5 years out from that bankruptcy. You would think, hey, my credit score is absolutely going to be going up. But maybe, and I'm saying maybe because we absolutely don't know, maybe that's a threshold for the credit bureau where they say, okay, we're going to take this person out of the, newly filed bankruptcy category and place them in the people over 5 years filed bankruptcy. How are they doing in comparison to them? And that will impact your score as well. So you just don't know. We just don't know exactly all of the things. That's why it's so very difficult to say, here's what's going to happen with somebody's credit score when you have all of these factors going on for each individual. Here's yet another thing that while we may have a fluctuation, if you will, with your credit score, a minor change could be happening and you just don't notice. It could seriously be a minor change. So you could have an old account. You haven't thought about these people. You haven't thought about this credit card company in years. You haven't used them. The account is actually on your credit report. It may be closed, but you are getting credit for all of those good payments you did way back in the day. you can be getting credit for those things. And then let's say it's time for that account to